Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. And today I'm going to be talking to who many people consider to be one of the, if not the top creators in the world. Somebody who has put out more commercial material, more big hits than almost anybody in the industry, who has worked with every single production company, as well as producing stuff himself. Somebody who has bought effects out that have literally changed the way that the industry works and operates, and not many people can say that, and continues to evolve, continues to bring effects out that really are just incredible, and someone I've been a big fan of for a long time. I'm talking about the one and only Nicholas Lawrence. Dude, how you doing, man?
Whoa. Well, first off, what an intro. Dude, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. And it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm doing well. I'm doing better now that we get to finally sit down and have a chat.
It's so weird. We've obviously known each other for a long time in terms of I'm aware of your stuff, you're aware of my stuff, but I don't think we've ever really sat down and had a
Well, yeah,
conversation.
a full blown. Yeah, I mean, we've met, we've mingled, we've chatted a little bit, but to actually sit down and really, have a good conversation. No, this is the first time, and it's great. It's great to be here.
I'm really excited about it. And I said to you off camera, one of the reasons I'm so excited to do this interview is I'm aware of your work. Obviously, everybody is, but I'm not really so much aware of your journey into magic and how that all got
Ah,
mapped out. So I'm interested
okay,
to hear about that. And what I want to do is I want to start off at the very beginning, and I want to find out exactly how
okay,
you got into magic. So, we'd call it in the DCU or the MCU, we call it the origin story. What's your
hmm.
origin story, Nicholas? How did you get into magic? Where did that all come from?
Okay. Yeah, dude. I mean, I started off. I mean, I guess we'll just start with the age thing, and I started pretty young. So it is actually kind of funny because I just seen a photo my mom gave me years ago, maybe about 3, 4 years ago, and it's a photo of me holding a magic kit. And I had never I didn't have a recollection of this photo, or but I was probably about 5 years old when I got that. So technically, I could say I started when I was five, but I would never say that. That's when I got introduced to magic, I guess. And then I kind of forgot about it. Started kind of tinkering again, like at the library with magic books around 10, 11 years old. And then the first David Blaine Street Magic special came on. And then I was like, whoa, okay. I liked magic before. Now I love it.
Hmm.
And I think it was him that really kind of showed me like the magic could be like this different thing, this kind of cool, casual, you know, just walking on the street kind of magic. And dude, from that point, it just was like ideas actually started just going off in my head. I think a lot of people they had the desire to learn more, which obviously I was doing that exact thing. But for me, it was like I think it was seeing it in an environment that I was so familiar with
Hmm.
instead of like a stage that kind of sparked creativity for me. So from the age of early 11 to maybe 16, I was just um, wanted to create magic. And I think another reason for that is we weren't the wealthiest family growing up, right? So we weren't every Christmas and birthday, I wasn't getting, shopping carts full of magic tricks. And my mom had to scrape together just to get me, my first penguin order. I think I was about maybe 15, 14 or 15. I got like, the biting coin. And, but because of that, and because I just had like, a few books at the library, I didn't go to my first magic shop until I was maybe 17 or 18. We only had maybe one or two in Buffalo, New York, where I'm from. So, you know, because of all that, I think that's what kind of drove the creativity was just the desire to want more and to want to learn more, but maybe it wasn't as accessible to me.
Hmm.
And maybe it's just a natural thing, more naturally creative. I don't know, but that's kind of where it all started. A little bit of library, a magic kit, David Blaine, just the desire to want to learn as much about magic as possible. And from there, man, I guess years went on, and um, but that I guess that would be the origin. Is maybe as boring as it sounds or as cliche as it sounds? That's it.
Well, what was the what? So you're 11 to 16 years old. You're creating magic. What was, did you have a goal? Like, were you thinking, I could make a living out of this? Or were you thinking, this is just a fun thing to do, but I'm going to ultimately get a proper job? And if you were thinking, I can make a living out of this, were you thinking about it from a magic creator point of view? Because these days we put creators on pedestals and everyone's like, I want to be a creator, I want to be a creator. But back then it was not as it was. There was obviously lots of creators, but I think a lot of people that came through wanted to be performers. So what was your mindset when you were going through that really early creative phase?
So for me, it was just about having fun. It was
Hmm.
all about just having fun, because I was always around friends and family, and different, different events and stuff. And I just took every opportunity I had to show people magic from really early on. And I never thought that it was going to be a job until maybe I released my first product when I was 20 something years old. And that's when I kind of, maybe just a few years before that, did I really start to understand that anybody could be a magic creator and actually market a trick. So I never once thought of that. And actually, I never wanted to be a professional magician either. I just wanted to do it for fun. Like, I mean, I did like some kids' birthday parties when I was younger, for free, you know. And believe it or not, I mean, even for a free show, I felt like, just from the response, I always did a very good job. Just like when I would perform magic at a mall, I mean, making people scream and freak out and, just having a blast. But I never thought to myself, I want to be a professional magician. Um, and and to set the record straight, I mean, I'm not. I'm not a professional magician. I've never done a full paid gig. My obsession is, it's a few things, but it's just to create, tinker, and possibly try to advance, older methods or add my spin to it to inspire people. It's full on creative versus full on professional, right?
Yeah, well,
So
that's the
yeah,
thing. A lot of people, I've had conversations with magicians that say, oh, you can't be a creator unless you're a professional magician. But from my point of view, being a professional magician really kind of pigeonholes you because when you're going to
yes,
a gig, I'll be honest with you, I'm a pro, and there's certain things, I got them right here. I don't really like doing sponge balls, but I know that I'm going to get killer reactions from it. It's
yep.
something I'm going to have to do. You make sacrifices when you're a pro. Um, but one of my best friends in the world is Lloyd Barnes. He's never done a paid gig in his entire life, but he's an incredible creator of magic.
Powerhouse. Yeah.
Exactly. He performs socially. He works his material in by showing it to friends and family, and I think it makes him a better creator not being a pro. So I completely agree with you, Nicholas. For people that think, "Oh, you got to be a professional magician to be a creator," it's not the case.
Now, I think I mean, a professional magician can create, as we know, right?
Yep.
But you're right, it is like this pigeonhole. You definitely, if you want to, I mean, if you're going to make a living at it, I mean, even just being a full-time, inventor or consultant, um, yeah, I just don't think it's possible to be. I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely to be a professional entertainer because you have to dedicate your time somewhere. If you want to excel at something,
Mm,
most of your time has to go to what's your obsession, what's your passion. And for a lot of people, their passion is to perform magic.
mhm.
And yeah, I mean, guys like Lloyd Barnes, myself, I mean, we might say we're not performers, because mainly it just comes from respect to the people who are professional performers. But of course, we can perform. We
Yeah.
can go, give me a deck of cards, give me, one of my props I'm working on. I mean, for everything I release, I mean, I have to go out and perform it. I have to go out and test it. So yeah, in some ways I am a performer, but I don't like to throw that word around, right? It's more like I'm just going out and showing people magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely 100%. So you said you were not really considering this as a career until you released your first trick. So how did that come about? Like you talked about how you fell in love with the creative side of this industry. How did you go from, okay, I'm tinkering around with ideas, I'm creating stuff for myself to, you know what, I'm now going to bring this out? And did that kind of make you think, actually, no, this is something that I can make a career from
Yeah,
eventually?
this is kind of where like it all really started, and I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but there was a bit of a negative spin to my true origin of creating and marketing magic. Um, but basically I was able to overcome that, and then things exploded. So what happened was I, being born or growing up in the internet age and uploads and things like that, and I started uploading my stuff to YouTube, um, and Facebook, here and there, and Sans Mines, Will Side contacts me. And that's so before I get to, that's the negative aspect. And, I don't want to get too much into it
Yeah,
again,
we're not
but
going to get into that at all. No.
he did give me an opportunity. And as much as I might have gotten hurt from that, he actually helped me in a lot of ways. He helped me catapult and get me out there. So in some ways, I kind of thank him for that opportunity. But so basically, what happened was he kind of hit me up and said, I really like some of these ideas. I would love to work something out for you where, we can release your ideas and get them out to the magic world. And next thing you know, they were flying me out to Vancouver, Canada. And we filmed, believe it or not, 10 projects in 10 days.
Holy crap.
My first time ever, never done a tutorial. I was a bit of a natural, I guess, because we just went through it and we got it done. And I think 8 of them actually ended up getting released. And a couple of them, maybe they weren't as good or whatever, but because towards the end, me and Sans Mines, we had a falling out. And basically, I got all this attention. People, I got a lot of fans from it, which felt so good. And like, it was like this mixture of, I got love hate here, love hate. It was a mixture of love and hate, where it was like, this sucks, but also I'm like, oh, this feels so good. People are like enjoying my ideas for the first time ever, besides just performing them for people or showing them to maybe a couple of friends, magic friends, to see it on this mass level of like people just saying like, wow, I picked up your new trick. And then, it was actually quite emotional for me, my first release. And, you know, from that moment on, I realized, wow, I might not have made a ton of money with my first attempt at doing this whole, teaming up with a producer, but it was a huge learning experience. So I learned about, the market a little bit. I started to understand it, and I started to say, okay, I started creating a dream, that maybe I could, you know, create and take, these older ideas and polish them and make them teachable, right?
Mm.
Started learning about the magic market, what's practical, street magic, stage magic, close up, parlor, all these different things. And just trying to educate myself on everything magic. And yes, I started to realize, okay, well, I can do this. So, after Sans Mines, David Penn, World Magic Shop, hit me up. I went and did my very first international lecture. It was a smash hit. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet my fans close up and personal. And man, from that was like that like turning point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna spearhead this. I'm gonna go hard. And from then I just started working with every company. And man, it
Well,
was just
I
crazy,
want to, I want to get into that. I want to get into that. But before we do, very, very quickly,
Yeah,
so obviously you work with Sans Mines. You bought a ton of stuff out through them. For the people that don't realize, Sans Mines, if you're new into magic, they were one of the biggest production companies in the world back in the day. And one of the things that they did incredibly well was get people excited and hyped about products. Their trailers were amazing. Their
they
social
were.
was amazing. Their social media was amazing. And you are right, they took people and they made stars out of them because of how they marketed it. And look, there's some stuff that happened behind the scenes with Sans Minds. We're not going to get into that.
Sure, sure.
The point is, what an incredible starting point, because by filming that many products with Sans Minds, who's got such a kind of a presence on social media and within the community, and it became such a big event when everything came out, that would skyrocket you. That would immediately take you from somebody who nobody had really heard of before to somebody who's like literally everywhere, especially this they've got so many effects that they can bring out. And it's like, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. I mean, that's a great start. You don't see many people
Yeah, yeah,
getting a start like that.
yeah. It felt natural. It felt like almost a bit surreal, but also like it was like meant to be, and I definitely appreciated the opportunity because, like you said, I could say a lot of bad things, but you have to be able to, be mature enough to really look at a situation and appreciate the good things too. I mean,
Mm.
anybody who says their trailers aren't awesome and their marketing wasn't awesome, you're denial because they really were. They were always so much
Right.
fun and entertaining,
Mm.
and always a lot of really cool visuals and just getting people intrigued and wanting to know more. Right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So here's a question for you. You said that Will Desai reached out to you.
Yeah.
What? So I speak to a lot of people that want to be creators, and they say to me, "I've sent ideas to Penguin, I've sent ideas to Illusionist, I've sent ideas to Murphys, I've sent ideas to Vanishing Ink, and I'm not really getting anybody biting back at me." Were you at the time trying to reach out? Had you got to the point as a creator where you're like, you know what? I want to release ideas. I'm going to reach out to companies, or was it kind of more of a case of I'm creating for the fun of it? And then you kind of got blindsided by this opportunity.
Mhm.
Which
It was exactly that. I was just creating for fun. I hadn't reached out to any companies. Um, at the time, it was like maybe in the back of my mind, like I said, I was kind of developing the idea that it was a plausibility, right? It was something that could be achievable, but I wasn't aiming for that at all. No, I just you know, Will reached out to me and showed interest, and I was like, wow, this could be a thing. But also, I think a big thing is it's you mentioned, a lot of creators reaching out to magic companies. Besides being kind of saturated, a lot of people creating the same things, it can be really difficult to pitch an idea and even get accepted or picked up, right? Because
yeah,
it's maybe too similar to this or too similar to that, or it's not steps forward, steps backward. So yeah, it's just a difficult thing, and I think different eras bring different things. I mean, I'm feeling it now. Like I feel like there's a difference now than there was even just 5 years ago
yeah.
with the magic market. So yeah.
Okay. So did your mindset shift, Nicholas? So you were creating just for fun, just for you. You were doing other things. It wasn't a career. And then Will Tsai comes in. Hey, you're amazing. We're going to make you a megastar. Here's 10 projects that we're going to film. Then David Penn flies you over to the UK. You do an international lecture. Everyone's loving you. You're bringing stuff out through World Magic Shop. And again, if you've not been into magic for a long time, World Magic Shop were one of the biggest magic shops in the world back in the day. It was huge. The Wizard Product Review was just
And
like,
also the largest review. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Wizard Product Review was a brand. World Magic Shop was a brand.
and
So
you were a big part of that, if people don't know, because that's way back
yeah,
when. But yeah.
yeah. Me and Dave, we did that whole thing for several years, and so having your first releases through World Magic Shop and Sans Minds is huge. Did your mindset shift? You said that you kind of exploded in terms of, hey, I can make a career out of this. Did your approach to creating change? Like, because when you're creating magic for yourself, there's certain things that you don't care about, but when you're creating magic for the community, there's certain things that it kind of has to, as well as me, we're both creators, there's certain boxes that you need to check. Did your
Yeah.
approach at that point, when you kind of made that decision, I can do this more, did your approach to creativity change at that point, and how you approached creating tricks, and did you make them kind of more accessible for the magic marketplace?
So to be honest, for many years and even now, I really strive to just kind of stay true to myself and what I like and how I like to do it, and that I'm really just sharing with people a part of me versus trying to adapt and making it like every other product on the market. It's a little tough to explain, but basically, it's a slow change where, of course, you want things to be. I mean, I kind of cherry pick the things that I know other people could do.
Yeah,
It was more so my focus was how can I learn, adapt the product slightly, or the idea or the trick slightly, while still, staying true to the original idea and just giving them a piece of me. But mainly focusing on the tutorial aspect, right? The teaching them that they can also do this. Because my ideas generally are straightforward, they're simple for them. I mean, they might require a little bit of, juggling, um, or a bit of a dance, as I call it. Just getting the choreography right. Um, but generally speaking, they're easy to learn, as in the concept is easy to understand. It's a practical an approach of, I mean, what exactly is practical, considering what magicians do, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I would say mostly I didn't change too much in a lot of ways, but I did just kind of slowly learn how to take my ideas and try to make sure every stone was, turned, and just trying to give people clarity, because in our heads, when we're creating, it's kind of a mess. We're just doing things how we want to do them. This is how I do it. It flows, it works. But you also want success with the products. You want people to enjoy them fully, and you want to get as many people to be on board as possible. So yeah, it goes kind of checking those boxes and just making sure that it's a good experience for them. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. That's a great answer. It really is. Um, so at that point, then, like you said, you started working with lots of different production companies. What was your approach to kind of taking the Nicholas Lawrence brand? Because at that point it was a brand, as it is now, and it continues to grow. But what was your approach to sort of taking your name and getting you out to everybody in the magic community? Because Sans Minds wasn't an option anymore, because obviously, that had gone away. So,
Yep.
we know that you've worked with so many other production companies, and eventually you started creating and marketing stuff yourself. But what was your approach at this point? Like, did you blanket contact every production company? And because it's a question I get an awful lot. So many people in this
Sure.
industry want to be magic creators. And the number one question I get over and over again is, how do you choose which trick goes with which company? There's some people out there that will solely work with one company. They find a company they're happy with. Other people will work with every single company. If you do that, how do you decide which trick goes to which? How do you get that company to go, yeah, we'd love to work with you? This is,
Sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ideally in the beginning, I gravitated towards Penguin because, they were one of the first people, like first online magic shops, or the first online magic shop I ordered from. So I kind of felt it would be cool to kind of like, in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna sell tricks, but I wanted to create a relationship, right? I wanted to kind of build this long-term thing. And Penguin. That's why I released, numerous things with Penguin over the years, and there's still things coming out with Penguin, that were created years ago and signed years ago. But I also was getting contacted by some other producers, and also reaching out to them slowly. But I realized something, even though I wanted that kind of like a magic family and that relationship, just to have, release stuff with Penguin, that they're going to be my home for my magic. I realized, kind of like what you said, is that certain tricks are actually better off with certain producers,
yeah,
right? So that's why when, maybe people ask me for advice and being a creator, and what they should do is, aim for trying to release something with everybody, learn their style, like what kind of magic they do, and if that kind of suits you, or you maybe have an idea that's good for that,
yeah,
throw it to them. They're going to market it better. They're going to appreciate it more. Their audience are going to appreciate it more.
yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Is just working with everybody and really understanding the market, as a whole.
And also, every production company has its own following. There's some people that will only ever buy from Vanishing Ink. There's some people that will only ever buy from Penguin. So by
Sure.
working with all these different companies, you're opening yourself up to, new audiences that might not have really been aware of your work beforehand.
Yeah, I think it just, in general, this networking, like what we're doing right now, I mean,
Yeah,
is it's a great thing. I am kind of known for staying to myself a lot, but it's nice, like, besides conventions and do things like this, it's nice to kind of, cross pollinate, right? And just to network, and just, be friendly, be out there. And because who knows, maybe some people watching this are going to go like, wait, I never even heard of this guy, and maybe they're going to come my way, and that would be awesome. But that's how it works, just networking and just meeting people, and just doing it, man, living the dream.
absolutely, 100%. I got so before we move into kind of what you're doing now, one of the things, a couple of other things. One of the things I really love that about you. I work with lots of different production companies, and obviously we chat and we talk. And whenever your name is brought up, it's always brought up in very high regard. And there's people in this industry that work with lots of companies that burn bridges. And I've never met a single person, and I know a lot of people in the industry that know you as well. I've never met a single person that has got anything bad to say about you.
Oh wow. That's really nice to hear, honestly. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I just try to be, just a straight shooter and just being honest. And I'm passionate about what I do. Sure, some of the you know producers I've worked with, maybe we had a small little tussle here or there, and nothing that went public, besides maybe way, way, way back when. But we all have our horror stories, but generally speaking, you're right. I've been a straight shooter, and I've tried my best just to present myself in a way, treat others how you want to be treated, kind of thing. Um, I hope people can just be inspired and see that I am just a passionate artist at heart, and I just want to share my ideas with the world. And I guess that has translated well to the community and to just the people in the business. So I'm blessed for that. I feel like I've done an okay job.
Oh, you have definitely, and then some. So let me ask you a question, because again, this is something that gets brought up when people talk about creativity. Is there one of the things that I always appreciate whenever I watch a Nicholas Lawrence effect is how good your tutorial is. You have an
Oh,
ability to teach and not overcomplicate things, make it very, very simple, but also at the same time get everything covered. And you know, it's a difficult thing to do a tutorial. It's really, really hard to get everything over clearly, concisely, and it's incredible. So my question is twofold. One, do you have any tips for people that are watching this that are doing a tutorial to, how they can structure it? And also, secondly, is there a reason? Because this is the question that comes up a lot. Is there a reason why some Nicholas Lawrence tricks might come out and they don't have you? It's your trick,
hmm,
but you're not like on the tutorial. So I had so many people reach out to me when the vanishing card box
sure,
came out
sure.
through Penguin, and they were like, "Oh, it's so cool that this is coming out. I love Nicholas Lawrence. Why are you doing it again?" Like, do you know what I mean?
Sure,
Like,
sure, sure.
is there a
Yeah, yeah,
reason?
yeah.
Because the
There's
industry, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a few things. I mean, life comes up in different ways. But so we'll talk about tips here in a second for tutorials. But just to cover that quickly, it might be something like um, for that, maybe it was just I had something going on, and they really, they had scheduled it, and maybe I had to cancel, or vice versa. It could just be schedule conflict. um, Sometimes things personal come up in life, right? Something I don't mind sharing here is something that is basically since COVID. I developed this like dermatitis on my skin that basically gets like these red blotches on my skin, and like it kind of like maybe a little flaky at times. But for me, I'm very like yeah, I don't mind saying this. I'm a little self-conscious about my image, and I always want to be presenting myself in the best way possible. So if maybe we have something planned and I've got a big, red blotch on my face, even that would prevent me from being, like just canceling an interview, canceling a shoot. So that's been one of the things that have come up. And also it could just be something else. Some personal, maybe a family member is sick in the hospital. That also did happen before. I am living on the other side of the world. So
Yeah,
maybe for like a
yeah.
smaller production, maybe if it's a smaller product or something, um, you know, I could say, well, hey, if you have an artist who can hop in and take my place, um, great. I mean, the idea is still being taught. We're still kind of communicating the uh, the routines and everything that the contents that need to be taught. So I mean, they're still getting that, but I understand they're kind of missing they want to sit down with me, right? So that definitely happens. But life comes up,
Absolutely. No, that makes
Yeah.
total sense.
But
And
in regards to tutorials, you were mentioning as well,
yeah, yeah.
just tips on that. But also, let me start with we covered that I'm more of a creator than a performer, right? So that's automatically going to give me an edge to being a teacher because I just obsess and think about the method, the handlings, the angles. You know, what's the best approach in every way. So because I rehearsed that in my head for months, years, how depends on how long I've been developing a trick. Yeah, it's going to come out more natural. I'm going to make sure that I'm covering anything and everything. Where maybe if you're a professional performer, you came across a really great idea and you wanted to teach it. Maybe it's your first time teaching. Maybe, teaching isn't natural for everybody as well. So I feel like I am a natural teacher. I definitely obsess more about the methods, the handlings. Um, so I think those are the two major reasons. But for tips for people, I think it's really, number one with anything in life, you got to really care, right? Put everything you got into it, even if, I don't hold myself way up here. I'm a decent guy and well-rounded in a lot of things, but I just care. So I'm going to try. So every time I do a tutorial, I'll pull up my notes app, and make sure everything's listed from start to finish. And even I'll make a mistake. I'll leave something out, but generally speaking, what is taught will be covered well. I'll try to simplify it just like I do with my methods. And just trying to, short, sweet. But I think just being prepared, caring and being prepared.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
really,
man.
really, really good answer. And I want to talk more about creativity in a second, but first of all, let's finish kind of your story. So
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
from you getting into magic all the way through to releasing magic with big production companies. Everybody wants a piece of Nicholas Lawrence. Now, obviously, we know that a lot of the stuff that you do now is self-produced, but in order to get there, I might be wrong. Correct me if I am, because I'm not 100% sure. But did you get involved at some point with abstract effects as well? Was that kind of, I don't know if you're an artist or one of the founders or something, I'm
Sure.
not sure. But I know that that was kind of just before you started releasing Magic yourself.
Yeah,
Um, so what can you talk us through what happened from going from releasing Magic with everybody to kind of where
sure.
you are now? Would that be okay?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I never really stopped with producing with major producers. I'm still doing that. But
Yep.
of
Yeah.
course, the longer you're in something and the more you learn, you realize that it's more beneficial to you if you've got the knowledge to kind of try to do it yourself, right? So I dabbled with that even before abstract effects with a company called Sensor Magic. And that was just a fun thing I did with a friend. It's just kind of starting to take the knowledge we had and just getting our feet wet, right? And then years down the line, after meeting the other brothers, we connected. We had a good time just having creative jams and consulting with each other on different projects. That we said, you know what, let's start our own company. Um, and it's going to be dogs barking here. Um,
I can't hear a thing. We're good.
oh well, that's good. That's great. So basically, after doing, getting my feet wet with Sensor Magic, my first magic company, if you will, and kind of getting close with the other brothers, we were like, you know what? Let's start our own magic company. And it was me, the other brothers, and Max. That was who's their good friend, and he's very good at business. He was kind of like the manager of the team. Um, and yeah, so definitely a founder. I mean, from everything, the artwork to just like the themes, everything, we all had our hands in everything. Yes, we all had our strengths, but it was a brainchild. We had created, and it went well for a while. And I wouldn't say anything negative about those guys or the experience. I think it was just another learning experience.
Yeah.
But just quickly realizing that it was more of not that I want to have my own solo brand and just me being the person, but I felt it was something that I needed to do, but also to something that I was meant to do.
Yeah.
So I just went in that direction and eventually did the whole Nicholas Lawrence Presents thing.
Which is where we're at right now. So, like you say, you still create magic with lots of other companies,
Yep.
as we know, because obviously a couple of things have recently come out through Penguin. But
Yep.
at the same time, um, you're releasing magic through Nicholas Lawrence production. So my question, so I want to talk all about that. My question is, first of all, is there a way that you decide when you create a trick, like, okay, this is going to be a Nicholas Lawrence trick, or this is going to be a trick for a different production company? Like, is it based on cost or how much time it would take to assemble, or if you know, because we know, you know as well as me, somebody like Penguin, you know, they've got the resources to be able to, you know, put something together. They've just got
Sure.
resources on top of
They
resources.
could they could make anything, right?
Yeah,
So that's really all it comes down to. Is if I can't make it, or maybe I just don't have the funds, because sometimes things can cost, heaps over 10, 15,000 dollars to produce. And
you know
especially if
what?
you're, yeah,
It's so true. I got to say one thing. I got into a discussion with somebody the other day online, and it was this trick. I'm not going to say what the trick was. It was this trick, and the trick said, in order to, you know, if you want to do this handling, you need to get yourself this thing that you can get you can get from a stationery store for $1. And this reviewer was like, well, if that's used for one of the handlings, why doesn't they include it? That would make more sense. And I said to the guy, and he didn't understand. I said, the problem is, if you're going to sell this through Murphy's, you might want to produce a minimum of 1,000 units. If you're then going to include this item, it's going to cost you an extra $1,000 just to include this item that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
even one of the main handlings. And it's this sort of things that people don't realize when it comes to producing a magic trick, that this one small
everything.
thing.
Yeah, everything is calculated. And of course, the focus is going to be the main routine, right?
Yeah,
And if anything, those little extra ideas, those are just little blessings you're getting, like little nuggets here, little nuggets there. I mean, yeah, you go get a UV pen, you spend $1 at a shop. For you or for the people that want to do it, it's easy. But like for us to do it again, that would be adding another whole dollar, $1 something to a product. You times that by 1,000, by 2,000. That's a lot more extra money for something that's just kind of a bonus.
yeah,
But yeah, man, sometimes things can be really expensive to produce. Generally speaking, I try to do things where I can hand make them because I think it has a bit of a charm to it.
yeah,
But obviously, it also saves me money as well because I can be the laborer. Um, but when you're actually contacting a factory and doing all the R&D and all the prototyping and all the shipping back and forth and testing materials, it racks up quick and it can be quite expensive. So if I feel like it's just something that I just can't handle or I just don't want the headache, of course I'm going to pass it to the people who are producing projects left and right, and they just have a team that can just tackle this thing head on. It just makes it easier. I mean, it makes it easier for everybody. Where then I can just focus on the routines, and then just checking and making sure the gimmicks are right, and so on.
you see, you're a better man than me, because I will never release anything myself. I just cannot be bothered with it. I want to go to
It's a
somebody and
lot.
say, here's the idea, here's the prototype. You tell me when you want me to film a tutorial, I'll do that. You tell me when you want me to market it, I'll do that. Beyond that, I'm done. You know, it's over to you.
Yeah,
You're the
yeah.
expert at this. I just I just cannot be bothered with it. But it takes a
It's a lot
special
of
type
work.
of somebody. Yeah, it takes a special type of somebody to do it. And I'll tell you what else it takes a special type of. I'm not going to name names. It's not fair, but I know that there have been creators in the past that have made a name for themselves by working with production companies, and they've decided to go it alone because they kind of think, well, I can make more money doing it that way, which is a great business mindset. But then they don't think about the time and effort it's going to take when it comes to then, from dealing with the sales and dealing with the distribution, and like, okay, I've got 100 orders for this. I
Yeah,
need to now send 100 packages out. And we've, without naming names, there's been magicians out there that have sullied their reputation a bit because they've not sent out a lot of the stuff in a timely manner or even at all. And I don't think
yeah.
it's because they've done it to be malicious or they've done it to rip people off. I think that it takes a certain level of organization to deal with that many orders. And one thing that I know from speaking to the community about Nicholas Lawrence Presents, one thing people say is they order something, it's going to get there, it's going to get there timely, and the customer service is great. You communicate with people, and I think that's the biggest problem that creators have when they try to go it alone. And you've managed to avoid that issue.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up. It's good for the community to hear those kinds of things. Besides, you do see it in comments and on the cafe, and that's good. I got a decent track record with that. I mean, I've been doing the Nicholas Lawrence Presents thing for 4 or 5 years now, and out of those years, only maybe a small handful, maybe 4 or 5 instances where something went wrong. But I had taken care of it. I made sure I gave them discounts. I made sure they got their product. Whatever, maybe it was a refund situation, you got refunded. I apologized. There's certain things that you just can't control. But yeah, I do have a decent, I got a great track record in that regard. But some people don't, and I think it's like you said, it takes a special type of person. Maybe it's just not their strength. They probably just bit off more than they could chew. They thought that they could take care of everything and wear all the hats of the business. Um, but they quickly realized they couldn't. So again, it was definitely not malicious. I'm sure with some of these people in the community, they tried their best. But it really just takes, a lot of time, money, and a lot of the times more people. You need a team. Where what I do, I'm actually keeping it kind of on a smaller scale. And it allows me just to be constantly busy running like a chicken with his head cut off, but just getting things done, right? Between, just replying to fans and answering questions personally, I also do the customer service side of things as well. And then the forums and comments and yeah, so it's a lot. It's a lot. And it can be pretty stressful. But luckily my stuff is done pretty well and it's rewarding in a lot of ways, not just financially, but just it's motivating. It makes you feel good. It makes you want to keep going when you got that good track record and people are appreciating your stuff and you're doing an okay job. So why not just keep going, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. And you
Yeah,
are, you
man.
do a great job. So I, I want to talk about some of the newer things that you've had coming out in a minute. But first of all, I think that I'd get lynched in the comments to this video if I did not ask this question, which is
Hey,
I mentioned earlier on about so many people these days want to be creators. You come into the industry, and it's weird. It's been a bit of a seismic shift I've noticed in the industry recently. A lot of people, like you say, that come into the industry back when I first got into magic, they were like, "Oh, I want to be a performer. I want to go and perform. I want to stand on stage." But these days, a lot of people that are coming into the industry that kind of immerse themselves in magic, they're like, you know what? I want to be a creator. I want to create. I want to be that person. So for everybody that wants to be a creator, they're coming into magic. They feel like they've got some great ideas, but they don't know where to go. Like you said, it's very saturated. What advice can you give in two ways? One, any advice on actually creating a trick, or creating a piece? And two, any advice on getting that trick in front of the right people so eventually it can actually come out as a physical product?
okay. I guess I'll start with tips on actually creating
Yeah.
is, it's cliche, but it's really for me, this is what's worked. Besides having knowledge and researching the market, knowing what exists, that's step one. You got to be following the market, right? No, not necessarily. You could just create from the heart, and but then before you release it, you want to then make sure you're not stepping on toes, of course, right? So, but yeah, you got yourself an original idea, great, or at least an original concept to start. Okay, this is cool. Nobody's done anything like this. All right. Well, as corny as it sounds, you got to have a good imagination. That's what's worked for me is to be able to see it inside your mind. Um, and that for me, it's like I know it's just one of those like feels like almost like a cop out. But for me, my imagination I've learned is actually stronger than others. I didn't realize it was a thing. It's called aphantasia. Have you ever heard of this? Where
Oh,
uh, some people can't actually, if you were to close your eyes and picture a red juicy apple, some people maybe see black and white. Maybe people see color with the actual pores on the apple to extreme detail, but it's a spectrum of how people can actually imagine. Well, for me, it's actually very vivid. I can visualize mechanics and, everything, like the angle things are being cut at, the measurements. I can see that in my mind. So that was a very, very helpful tool for me. So to give other people advice, in regards to creating, I mean, it does, the best advice is really just to know the market, know what exists. But then also, if you're that type, to imagine it, to really see it in your mind, and then also to learn about tools, learn about materials, different tapes, different glues, different drills. Learn how to actually be crafty, so that way you don't have to rely on others to make a prototype for you. Not that it's a terrible thing, but if you want to excel,
Yeah.
learn how to be crafty, learn how to take an idea from your mind, learn how to be inspired as well, right? It sounds funny to say, but to learn how to be inspired, it's like creativity is a muscle, right? So when you're watching a movie, don't just watch the movie and enjoy the movie. Maybe there's going to be something in there, a scene that just sparks something in your mind. You have no idea how many times I've been watching a movie or at an event, and something, a little spark goes off my mind, and then I don't even pay attention to the event or the movie. I'm now thinking, okay, wait a second. If I twist that or I take that, wait, this is going to be crazy. And then I just go off and I find the right tool, I find the right material, and I start making the prototype. So I guess that was phase one. You're gonna have to remind me of the second part, but I think that's
Well, that was an incredible answer, Nicholas.
that's the juicy stuff there. Yeah.
That was brilliant. The second one was how to get it in front of magic companies, how to actually, because side note, like I've noticed over the last couple of years that downloads have kind of become a thing of the past, and I
Mm,
think the reason is things can be copied so easily that people want a physical product attached to it that makes it less likely to be copied. But when you talked about the area in which you were really interested in magic, which is kind of David Blaine, when you first got into it, David Blaine, and that was kind of around about the same time as the Theory 11 forums and the Illusionist forums, and a golden time for the creation of
sure.
magic. And there were millions of downloads coming out like every day. It's like millions and millions and millions of downloads, and
Yeah.
that was how a lot of people made a name for themselves, because they put downloads out, not physical tricks. And there's some people that made a huge name just from download, but you don't see that as much these days, really.
You know what I think has happened at downloads, or at least I think it should happen to tricks that would be like a downloadable trick. I feel like invest in yourself, take those instead of releasing them as just a 5, 10, $15 download, build your lecture, because these kinds of things you can just build at home, these great DIY tricks. I think they're better suited for your, making it this compilation, make a lecture out of it.
Mm,
Because, yeah, when I do a lecture, mine's usually about half and half product demo,
hmm.
and then exposing what the product is and giving people a good inside look. Then also, here are some things you guys can cook up at home. And you're right, that's what a lot of the downloads were back in the day. Not just sleight of hand stuff, but maybe like, you need a piece of double stick tape, a pair of scissors, and whatever.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
old
that
paper
market
crate
kind of
moment.
has died. Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's some gold. There's some gold with some simple things you can do at home. But I really do think a good home for those ideas is lectures. Yeah.
Mm, definitely. But with putting all that to one side, if
Yeah.
someone wanted a physical product to come out now and they
Yep.
haven't got a Nicholas Lawrence name attached to them, and
Sure.
people don't really know who they are, how do they get out there?
I'll
How
tell you
does
what, it definitely helps being a Craig Petty or a Nicholas Lawrence, right? But at the end of the day, you need some backbone. You need people like a company to help, produce it, obviously, but to market it the right way. But at the end of the day, the trick will sell itself. If you got a company to put it in front of the eyes and it's a good trick, or it's bringing forth something new, beneficial to either a worker or social media influence, whatever you're doing, if it has value, it's going to do great. So you don't worry about not being known, right? Just focus on the content. Focus on it being original, it being something that people are going to enjoy. Make sure before even approaching a producer, make sure that you're out there at least performing this idea, or maybe it's something. It helps to have a prototype and that you are performing it. If you feel like it's just a great idea and it's just something that you feel like you need them to make the prototype, sure, don't let it hold you back. Go for it. But in my experience, have a prototype, perform it, Maybe there's a small aspect that you can't yet because it needs to be mold injected or it can't be examined yet, that kind of thing. Sure, that's fine. You can wait for that. But yeah, just do everything you can to make it workable first. Just that you maybe need help from a friend, whatever it may be. But then once you feel like you're ready, then go to a producer, right? Not only are you going to make a good impression with them, that you're going to be a good, to somebody to be doing business with, but it's going to be a more pleasant experience. It's going to be a smoother experience. And at the end of the day, the product is going to shine even brighter, right? So definitely do your homework first, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you're performing this. You got a decent prototype that you can send to these people. Also, when pitching to them, I think it's really important. A lot of times, because people pitch stuff to me, and I'm not producing other people's stuff right now. I'm just not up for that right now. Focusing on my own stuff. But when I get these ideas, sometimes people will send me a 10, 15-minute video going over all this stuff, and it's like that's the wrong way to approach a company. You want to keep it short and sweet because if they like it, it's like a worm on a lure for a fish, like you're fishing, right? If they're gonna
Yeah.
bite, they're gonna bite. If it's good, if it has value, if it's something original, they're gonna want it. Trust me. And between everybody working on it, you guys are gonna make it shine bright. It's gonna be a great product. But just yeah, do your homework. Make sure you got yourself a working prototype. Actually, get out there and perform the idea that you created. Make it short and sweet when pitching it to a company. Highlight what you think it really holds value to it. Maybe include a quick story like, I was inspired by Anniversary Waltz. It's such a great trick in Magic. I always just thought it was missing this. Okay, great. But keep it short and sweet, a minute, 2 minutes. Quick performance video, a quick tutorial video, and the rest is a bit of luck. And hopefully it's going to resonate with the company, whether it be Penguin Magic, Vanishing Ink, Murphy's, whoever. And if it's right for them, and quickly, let's say you do pitch something, you did everything right, and they still said no, but you felt like it still has so much value to it. Take it to the next guy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Honestly, it might not even be, it might be something they didn't know they wanted or needed. But take it to the people you think would be a good fit first, then go to the next guy. If
One
the,
of my favorite tricks of all time is David Jonathan's Dan Harlan snap deck snaps.
oh yeah, the
And
photography deck.
yeah, I just love it. That's got the hidden letters inside the images.
Love it too.
It,
Yeah.
David told me that he pitched it to every single company, and he went through about 5 or 6 companies, and they all said no, and then Penguin said yes, and it's probably their 10th best-selling trick of all time. You never know. Just because one company doesn't see the value in it doesn't mean it's not going to be incredible.
Yeah, so for anybody watching, it's like don't get discouraged because I know I did early on, but then realizing that sometimes people just don't realize how much value something has, or it's just not a good fit for them. Just move on to the next guys, the next producer, and if it does actually have value, it'll eventually shine. Just stick with it, but also keep creating. Just create. The more you create, the better. Um, and yeah, kind of touching on this too is there's definitely been a shift where there's a lot more people who want to be a creator. And I feel like what's happened is other industries like making movies or being a painter or whatever has kind of leaped into magic. And that more kind of creative, do it yourself, hands on experience and expressing yourself, not just in a performance, but in building something brand new that nobody's ever seen before, has become more prevalent in magic. So it's almost like it's kind of a good. It is a good thing. The industry is growing. It's expanding. It's going in different directions, and I think we need more creative people. We definitely need it. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I've got one last question about this whole thing, actually, because this is
Sure.
super
Sure.
interesting. You mentioned not everyone can have a Craig Petty name or a David or a Nicholas Lawrence name, and that's absolutely true. Now, I've built up my reputation through social media. We talked about being on the Wizard product review. That did me no harm at all. And then obviously, since I've been back in the industry, it's been Magic TV that's really helped. And in the early days, you did a lot on social media, less so much these days, but you definitely became very well known through a lot of your social media content. What would you say to somebody who's trying to build a name up for themselves in order to maybe have a following so that they become more successful when it comes to releasing products? Is social media the way to go? Are there other ways that you can do it? I know that you've kind of,
Mm.
we spoke off camera briefly
Yeah,
earlier
yeah, yeah.
how you've stepped away a bit from social media. Like, what advice would you give in this side of things?
No, I think it's different for everybody. I do know one thing that works, and I'll touch on that in a second. Um, but yeah, for social media, yeah, I definitely have taken a back seat. I've stepped back on it. I think a lot of it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Um, and I will say, I think there's one thing that people should avoid, and some people might disagree, and that's fine. We all have an opinion, right? Is that fame is not the goal. Don't chase fame. Don't chase being seen and wanting to be known. And if that's what you're doing, I'm telling you, it's going to be a distraction. It's something I've never cared about. I've just never cared about. All I care about is creating things, doing what I love, and sharing them with people, and hopefully inspiring. And that's my thing. And I think that's why guys like you and myself, I think that's why we did shine. That's why we did excel. It's because we stayed true to ourselves and we didn't give a crap about being famous. Yeah, of course we want sales because we're a business. We're
Yeah.
trying to support our families, whatever it may be. And yeah, but I think that's a number one tip. And you might have to kind of remind me, but it's just don't do it to be famous. Like that's the
Mhm.
dumbest thing you can possibly do. And I think social media, that was something I was seeing in it, and it kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. I did grow pretty quickly. I mean, nowadays it's nothing. I got 13, 14,000 followers, whatever. It's like nothing. But at the time, I grew that quite quickly, and I just stepped away and haven't grown since. And it definitely hurt me. But the main thing that made me step away from that was it's kind of like if you go to a magic show and you say, wow, that trick was really cool. I've never seen anybody do that trick before. I'm going to build my own. And then next, they put it in their show. Well, people were kind of doing that with my ideas. I would show an idea on Instagram, and then, a month, 2 months later, 3 months later, 4 months, whatever, I'd see a download on Penguin of somebody who it's like the exact same thing. Now, independent creation does happen, but when it happens a little more often than it should, I started to realize, oh, people are literally just using my Instagram, and a lot of my videos have been deleted or archived as like a menu. They're using it as a menu, like, "Ooh, I like that. I like this." There's nothing wrong with being truly inspired, right? To steal like an artist. That's an old phrase. To see something and then be like, okay, that's his thing. I'm going to respect that. But what could I kind of do? Maybe with a different object. Maybe I don't know the exact method. Maybe I can come up with a method of something that's similar, but again, if it's too similar, we know everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. I think, and why not just reach out to the person? You're going to get a friend out of it, potentially. You're going to possibly collaborate. But more importantly, you just want that respect. You want to maybe it might be too close and you might need permission. You know what I mean? At least run it past the person. Um, so there's a lot of things like that. But social media, if it's something that works for you, I think it's cool. Especially these days, I think it is an important thing. I've stepped away. The one thing that I think does work, and I mentioned it, said I was going to mention it, is email. You got to
Mhm.
build up. If you're going to be an actual business, you're going to have a brand. You need emails because that's gonna be something that people are actually going to take more seriously. They're the visibility of it, I think, is greater than social media. Yes, if you've got a trick and you put it out there and it gets a decent amount of views, it's gonna help. It's gonna help. I think you need a little bit of everything, but for me, my focus is getting email. So shameless plug, if you don't mind. Hey, if you guys want to follow my email, go to my website, Nicholas Lawrence Presents, and subscribe because I think that's a great way. And I've only been letting it grow for the last couple of years, and it's been slow. But I think that's the way to go. But yeah, social media is great too. It just didn't really work for me as much. I think I'll get back into it. I'm thinking about maybe doing a YouTube channel. We'll see.
That'd be good.
But
I'd like that.
yeah,
And the other thing that you actually mentioned earlier on as well was networking. I mean, there's something to say to being that underground guy that goes to somewhere like the Blackpool Magic Convention. Nobody knows who he is or she is, and then they're sitting in the Ruskin, for example. and showing the most incredible material that no one's ever seen before. Everybody, 5,000 magicians are buzzing around going, "Did you see that in the Ruskin last night? Oh my
Yeah,
God." That's,
that could be the start of a superstar, right?
yeah,
Just getting yourself out there, and like you said, networking, just meeting people, showing your like that's what magic's for, right? To show it to people. And what better place to show it off? As a magic convention. Sure, we gotta take that risk of there's some bad apples out there that might, be inspired and run off with your ideas. But like I said, that hurt me. I shouldn't have did that. I think I maybe shouldn't have cut off so hard because it is important. You got to network. You got to show off your ideas. Let your magic be seen.
yeah,
Um, you're right because that can be the birth to something really huge for you, whether it just be your one hit wonder or whether it be a full time career. Um, if you're creating art, you're creating magic, even if it's just a touch on somebody else's routine, talk about it, have fun.
yeah.
Ultimately, I think that's a big part of it, just having fun. So,
Perfect.
yeah, man.
Which brings me to, so we're going to do, I'm not going to dwell on this too much because we're going to be doing a separate chat about this, but you just released Final Cut.
Yeah.
Now, this is the latest Nicholas Lawrence Presents product, and it's available obviously directly through your website. I don't think it's available anywhere else, is it? I think it's really
Currently, it's just with me at the time of filming this, but it will be with other shops
okay.
soon.
Okay, so it's coming
Yeah,
out through the
that's
but
kind of the plan. Yeah.
I've watched the trailer for this. I haven't seen the tutorial yet, but man, this looks like, this is a big claim, but this looks like the best vanishing deck I've ever seen.
Oh man,
I mean,
thank you.
this is incredible, right? This is effectively a vanishing deck, but on steroids. Can you
I
briefly?
appreciate that, man. Yeah, I don't want to sound weird, but I've heard that from a lot of top names. People saying I think it's the best managing deck, and that's really great to hear. I love that. But yeah, ultimately, this is something that is it might look similar to other things you may have seen, but I think if you look at the details, and I think the details are obvious, where it's just more open, it's very fair. I tried to make it look natural. I want it to feel like, when I'm shuffling the cards, I don't want people to think that, oh, he's holding a gimmick or he's doing this. So there's this naturalness to it. With you can have the gimmick in the deck. I'm shuffling, I'm cutting, the cards selected. Um, Even the control process is it's like self-guided because of the gimmick, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's kind of easy, but also kind of advanced. It's right there in the middle.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was going for years ago. I just wanted it to. I mean, like you see, it's a kind of a progressive, right? It's going from a full deck to a half a deck. Maybe you could run a clip that you guys can see the visual. But as it's vanishing, I wanted it to feel and look natural throughout the entire routine. Sure, there's times where you can't show certain things, or maybe it's certain angles here or there, but I think at the times it matters, you get the blanks filled in your
Yes.
mind. Like the first part where you have a full deck, which again, why wouldn't it be a deck of cards? Because I just shuffled it, you picked a card, blah blah blah. Well, you're convinced it's a normal deck, and then when half the deck vanishes, I immediately can show 360 degrees, front, top, back, forth, everything. So it's like, wait a second, half that deck really did just disappear, right? So that's the first thing. And then you get a nice striking visual where it vanishes again, and you're left with just a single card in your hand. There's no other cards. Sure, there might be, there's a little gimmick there hiding about, but I think it's designed and structured in a way where it feels so fair that when you get to that moment, all they care about is like, no way is that my card. And when you turn it over, it's their signed card, and you're just immediately going to get a reaction of applause, and people are going to love the hell out of it. So yeah, I was going for the best vanishing deck, So it just took years to get there, and yeah.
Definitely hit that. And I'm going to put a link down below where people can
Ooh.
get it. There it is. It's called Final Cut. Final Cut. And I am also going to be doing another interview with Nicholas about this very specifically, delving a lot more deep into
Which
it.
I appreciate. That's awesome of you. Thank you so much, man.
No problem, Nicholas. I got two questions before we finish up. So the first question is, I'm imagining you're working on 16 million things at the same time right now. You've got so many different ideas buzzing around in your head. Can you, I know, and for reasons we've already spoken about, you can't really fully talk about what's coming next. But are we going to see another Nicholas Lawrence trick before, say, the end of the year from either you or
Oh, certainly.
yeah, definitely.
Certainly, yeah, yeah. So I try to do about 3 or 4 self-produced products a year. So I've got the Final Cut just came out, and that's gonna, bustle through, and that'll be available worldwide soon. And basically, once I get to kind of that phase, right now is where I start going through all my kind of top ideas, and I say, okay, it's time for this one, right? And that's when I start polishing it, figuring out the materials, and getting everything sourced out. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not 100% sure. I got about 5 or 6 ideas that are like the top ideas. I'm like, okay, let me start figuring this out. So yeah, before probably around Christmas time, or just before Christmas, sometime in the next couple of months, something else will be coming for sure. And then you never know, you might see something sprinkled with, I just had a Theory 11 release. Got some Penguin stuff that'll pop up. But yeah, of course, you're always going to see
The
and hear
Nicholas,
from me.
the Theory 11 trick, the TN, the tournament resort.
Antique.
Oh my God, that's so good. Just throw that out there. Me and Ryland have
Thank
just
you.
reviewed it, and dear Lord, it's one of the best things
Oh,
we've
that's
ever.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Yeah, that was a big one for me. It was a bucket list thing to release something with Theory 11. Though they are like it seems, I believe, they definitely are focusing more on like playing cards and things like that. But man, they were big back in the day with Magic. So for me, it was like a bucket list thing to have a trick with Theory 11, and checked off the list. And it's a great trick. So if you guys want to check that out, go check that out too.
It's amazing. The review on that for
Thank
me
you.
and Ryland will be next week.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
awesome. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Final question,
Yeah.
which is, you've achieved so much in this industry. You've gone from a kid obsessed with creating magic to being one of the top creators in the entire world that everybody knows of in the industry, and for good reasons. My question is
Thank you.
there anything else left on your magical bucket list that you want to hit? You said it was a a tick box thing to be with Theory 11. Is there a company you've not worked with yet? Is there a person you want to collaborate with? Or is there something that you want to do in magic that you haven't done? Is there a place you want to lecture or a thing you want to do? Like, I know we haven't even
Yeah,
touched on
sure,
the
sure.
consulting work that you do and everything. I know you've done so much, but is there anything else that you are wanting to
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, top on the list is a Craig Petty collaboration.
that happen?
Yeah, no, I'm serious too. I mean, that would be great. But yeah, more collaborations. I would love that. I think it's something that I've strayed away from. Um, but I would love to just connect more with fellow creators and just really jam and just come up with something that's, two minds are better than one, right? And it's
Mhm.
like if people love your stuff, they love my stuff. Well, it's like when two people come together, as we know, we've seen with you and Lloyd, you guys create just like a fucking powerhouse, right? Sorry
No,
about that.
it's
But
my
yeah,
channel. You're more than
so
welcome to swear. Yeah,
good. Yeah, so I mean, but you guys are being amazing, and together it's like whoa. So I would love to do that with others. I pretty much I worked with everybody, the producers, so that's kind of checked off the list. But I think um, just working with, I mean, more of my like also just heroes in Magic too. I mean, we don't got to go off on it, but I mean, just like Paul Harris is somebody I've always looked up to. I would love to just do something with him. I think that would be really cool. Um, Maybe, as you know, I'm a consultant as well. I've never worked with David Blaine. If you're watching, I'd love to just do something with him. That'd be cool. Just like again, another.
that'd be a match made in heaven. That would.
Yeah, wouldn't it? So yeah, and kind of going full circle, right, as well. But yeah, it's little things like that. I would love to do a lecture tour, like a legitimate tour where I do maybe 15, 20 lectures. I've just, done one-offs, maybe I did a couple in Japan and Taiwan, or I'll hit up, a few cities, but I want to do like a full-on, huge tour. I think that would be really cool. And believe it or not, one of my kind of bucket list things, and it's because I haven't figured it out fully yet, is even though I said I'm not a performer, I swear to you, one day I would love to have my own theater show. Not a close up, not a parlor, but possibly a theater show where it's a different side of magic, maybe some bigger, not like big illusions, like we see them kind of in my own style, right? My own breathe my own life into it and make it so unique. But I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I would love to do that one day. And I think with all the time and energy I put into just being creative, I think I could build a very unique experience. And listen, it's not something I'm 100% on, but it's something that I have always thought about and I'd love to do. So,
Nicholas, that's amazing. Seeing what you've achieved in this industry and seeing, what you continue to achieve, I think that anything that you put your mind to, you could absolutely do 100%. And
well, thank you.
uh,
I always need the encouragement. I think we all do, you know.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you are a powerhouse in this industry. You
Thank
really
you.
are. And I want to say thank you for coming on the channel. Thank
Oh,
you for spending that. I know how busy you are, so thanks for spending the time chatting to me. And I want people that have watched this to do a couple of things. First of all, three things actually. Number one, go and support Nicholas and buy the final cut. I'm going to put a link down below where you can get it from his website. Second of all, like you said, one of the most important things is growing an email list. And as somebody who's on Nicholas's list, I'll tell you, he doesn't spam you. You don't get 15 emails a day about stuff you don't need to read about. Literally, the only time you get an email is when there's something cool coming out that's fucking awesome. So go down below, subscribe to his mailing list, and then leave a comment and let Nicholas know what you thought of the video, because he will be reading the comments. But yeah, most importantly, go join the mailing list and go and
wow.
final cut. That's very
Greg,
important.
Greg, you're amazing, dude. And let me start by saying it was an absolute pleasure. So thank you, not just for having me on, but just for these shout outs and just kind of give me the opportunity to just hang out with you and talk with your audience more. Dude, I had a blast and I really, really appreciate you. So, I mean, man, I'm still just kind of feeling like, I can't believe this is the first time we actually got to sit down and really talk. So we got to do this more just off camera.
It's correct. We absolutely need to. We need to make that Nicholas
I'm,
Lawrence
I'm predicting. I think I
collaboration.
can see it. I can see the future here. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. So
I need
we'll
to say
see.
it, Lloyd. I'm so over him. It's so last need to move on from that. I'm upgrading.
No, right.
Nicholas, thank you so much. Guys, I'm going to be back again next week with another Talk Magic, and look out for a review show special on the final cut coming soon. But outside of that, thank you for watching. My name's Craig. I have been speaking to the legend Nicholas Lawrence, and we'll see you again.